Game 37, Leafs, Sens, and I guess a new era of Maple Leafs hockey is underway. This is the second game of the Leafs season here now. Obviously, the game before Christmas against the Penguins is the first game without Marc Savard. But now today, after hearing two very different things, one being that Newsy Lalonde, Derek Lalonde, will be running the power play, that coming from Brad Treliving, and then immediately hearing from Craig Berube that actually the team will be running the power play and manning the power play and making decisions. And then Berube clarifying after, no, what I meant was he'll be leading the meetings, but we'll be, as a team, making decisions, which I guess could be true, but sounds like a cover-up and a backtrack to cover your tracks. Now all of a sudden, Steve Sullivan, former NHLer, assistant coach of the Toronto Marlies, has joined the Toronto Maple Leafs to run their power play. Sullivan is a power play guy, but as noted on Twitter, the Toronto Marlies, you have to take it with a grain of salt because they are the bottom three team in the American Hockey League in terms of drawing penalties, but they're one of the worst power play teams in terms of success rate in the entire AHL. Percentage-wise, not so bad, but in terms of actual power play goals scored, not that high. He now runs the Toronto Maple Leafs power play. What does this mean? I do not know. What does it matter? I do not know. I still look at the players and think a lot more onus lies on them. You have Auston Matthews, William Nylander, John Tavares, Morgan Rielly. Those are the core four guys. Use that word again. Those are the main four guys on the ice in the power play. Those are the guys making a lot of money, and those are the guys who should be able to score goals, especially when you have an extra guy on the ice. Not being so successful at doing so this season. I don't know how much the power play coach matters, but Marc Savard seemed like it was time. 2 seasons under him. Not that successful. Let's at least shake things up. Kind of surprised that after we heard the team and Derek Lalonde will be running it, Newsy is no longer the guy at the head of the ship. It is now Steve Sullivan who's coming in to run the Toronto Maple Leafs power play. Obviously, I'm sure he'll have some other roles with the team, some other jobs and tasks that I'll have to take on, but Steve Sullivan is your new power play coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's get on over to what we have for today's game for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there's no way to put this other than must win. Every time this team plays from now on, we're pretty much going to say, you got to win tonight. I'm not going to declare them must wins every time, but you have to win as many of the games remaining as possible. This tonight is a must win. You are facing the Ottawa Senators, another team trying to get themselves into playoff positioning. We've made it known here on this channel, whether it was on the watch along the other day across Leafs Morning Take or on the After Dark show with myself and the Jay Rosehill, Nick Alberga popping by time to time. We've talked about the Eastern Conference is a conference, and the Atlantic Division specifically is a division where everyone is picking up points every night, it seems like. Going to overtimes, going to shootouts, just getting extra points, walking away with 3-point games. This one where you are trying to jump other Atlantic Division teams. You are trying to climb over the Eastern Conference pile that is mediocrity in the wild card position and just beyond. You need to be winning these games against your Atlantic Division opponents and Eastern Conference opponents more than anything. These games at the end of the season will be the games that matter more than random games against, Anaheim and San Jose where you blow a point here or there. Those ones will matter, but not quite as much if you blow points against the Habs, the Sens, the Red Wings, the Rangers, the Penguins, etc. These are the games you got to get your cookies. These are the games you have to try to do everything you can to win in reg. Leafs Sens, Game 37. Let's take a look at what we've got for tonight's lineup over on Daily Faceoff. Starting with your first line here, keeping everything together, at least as a morning skate that we saw, keeping everything together from Game 36 against Pittsburgh. First line, McMahon, Matthews, Domi. Kind of reminiscent, I guess, of the Domi, Bertuzzi, Matthews line. I guess if McMahon is going, which he's not always going, but if he is going, he's a guy who can be a useful piece, can be a helpful piece. it also opens you up a little bit where now your second line is probably going to take on some more minutes. Maccelli, Tavares, Nylander, which I don't mind. I think I'd rather have Matias Maccelli playing alongside Auston Matthews because of the playmaking. Like, Nylander is a really skilled playmaker. John Tavares is a really skilled playmaker. Obviously, William Nylander is the guy who's like the guy who's going to score on those ones, the one you want to set up. But both of them can produce. They can make plays. They have good vision. They've got good passing ability. Maybe for me, I would look further down and say, hey, you know what? Somebody like Nick Robertson or Matthew Knies could fit into that second line, Dakota Joshua or whatever, and then give Maccelli to Auston Matthews to be the playmaker there. Max Domi it's not been working that well, but I'm not going to haggle over, the one guy in one spot, moving him around a tiny bit. I think it's fine as it is. Nylander got cooking in the last game against Pittsburgh. JT looked good in that one as well, so I'll leave the second line alone and just not touch it. Your third line, Matthew Knies, Nick Waugh, Nick Robertson. Matthew Knies has struggled this season, so to see him bump down in the lineup and be on your third line here and finding a role in that line at least a couple games in a row is not the most surprising thing of all time. I want to see him get his game back. I'm worried that he's just trying his best to battle through an injury and maybe get to this Olympic break, and maybe he comes out of the Olympic break flying and he can find a way to get back to his old self. And it's not a knock on Matthew Knies. He doesn't look like Matthew Knies. I think we all know that. I think we recognize it. I think he knows that. I think the coaching staff knows that. So he jumps down to your third line here again. And I mean, coming out of that Pittsburgh game, he played just over 12 minutes. That is not the Matthew Knies that we are used to. That does not scream full health Matthew Knies to me. And that's not just, oh, he's having an off night. No, something seems wrong. He doesn't have that pop. He doesn't have that jolt of energy. He doesn't have that spark he usually has. So I'm hoping he can get that back. Dakota Joshua, Scott Laughton, Steven Lorentz will be your fourth line for tonight's game. I like this line together. I'd rather that than having Calle Jarnkrok in there. I think he provides, Steven Lorentz and Joshua, that is. I think they provide an element here in all of this of checking that adds to what Scott Laughton can bring, on top of Scott Laughton's ability to make plays, score goals, get up and down the ice, be responsible. These two guys on either side of him, I think, fit that traditional checking role. I think this also opens you up for a chance where if your third line is not going, they don't look so good, you can move your fourth line up. They become your third line. They just play the more minutes. Your third line then goes and becomes your fourth line. They take on less. Similar to the top six. Maccelli, Nylander, Tavares, they get going. They can take more minutes than the first line. They can move Matthews, Domi, and McMahon down in the lineup. What I don't want to see here tonight is an absolute mashing of the panic button or the blender from Craig Berube. I don't want to see, oh, this didn't work for 5 minutes. This didn't work for 10 minutes. Change it up. You change the lines because you think they can work. If they don't find a way to get going within 5 to 10 minutes, do not smash panic button. Do not be quick to go to the blender. Like, let's work through this. Let's see if you can get through the period, a second period. If you're getting blown out 5-0, sure, fuck it, whatever. Do whatever, change whatever you need up. But if you're not in a desperate situation like that, hey, let's see if these guys can figure things out. Let's see if they can build chemistry. Let's see if they could work together and kind of start to feel each other out and maybe build some type of rapport and just start to look like a proper unit, a proper line, a proper roster, proper lineup where it's like they have chemistry. We've been so quick to change everybody every time this season, and it's driving me nuts. Easton Cowan will not play for a third consecutive game here. I got two things to say about this. One, I do not fucking understand for the life of me what Easton Cowan has done to get himself removed from the lineup and not deserve a chance back. I cannot say, honestly, that watching him, he's been any worse than Maccelli, Robertson, Lorentz, Dakota Joshua, Nick Waugh. Like, these guys, I just don't. McMahon, I don't understand why it's like, oh, wow, this guy's been so far off that he can't play. You know, Jarnkrok's not in your lineup tonight, but you look back at the last few, he gets a chance to go in there, and it's Easton Cowan who's not in your lineup. I'm like, How does this happen? I can't wrap my brain around that. Max Domi continuing to get first-line opportunities, seeing the mistakes he makes, seeing the decisions that are made. Now, mind you, the game against Pittsburgh was a much better game for Domi, so I'll give him the credit there. But in big picture, Easton Cowan not playing, it just doesn't seem to make sense to me. I don't understand why the guy's not getting the opportunities. I think he's looked pretty good. Yes, he had a bit of a drop-off, but who the fuck cares? Like, he's learning, he's mature, he's not making stupid decisions. It doesn't seem like his confidence is waving. He's still trying the same stuff. He's still playing the same way he was at the beginning. The points and the goals just aren't coming right now, but you could tell that he's learning to play as an NHL player, and he brings a level of excitement. Now, the second part of this is, okay, you've decided not to play him. Why the fuck is he sitting in your press box? Why can Easton Cowan not go and play for the Toronto Marlies? Why can Easton Cowan not go to the American Hockey League and play 20 to 25 minutes a night and play Power Play 1 and be a pro down there with the Marlies and be the guy and get all the minutes and get all the touches and get all the opportunities to develop there? Like, I battle back and forth with people about whether he should be on the third line or the Marlies, where people are like, if he's below the top 6, get him out. And I disagree with that. I think that where he's at, and I think it's case by case, I think he's the type of player that it seems to work for, where he's learning how to play in your bottom 6. Like, I pointed out Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou in St. Louis. They were in the bottom 6 the year they won the Cup. They were young guys learning to play, learning to do it the right way, learning to be pros, not playing the most minutes every night, but that developed them into the pros that they are now. And I think it's case by case. It worked for them. It seems like it's working for Easton Cowan. But if he's not playing, why put him in the press box? You want to talk about stunting growth or stunting development? Not playing a guy for weeks is going to do that. Why not send him to the Marlies? That's the gripe I have with the lineup decisions here tonight in this one. Let's go down to what we've got for defensive pairings in this game. This is what's listed right now, but Philippe Myers, Morgan Rielly is your first pair. Jake McCabe, Chris Tanev, your second pair. OEL, Troy Stetcher is your third. Now, I don't know what input the players have in this one. I will be honest. I would rather a pairing of McCabe, Stetcher, OEL, Tanev. I think it gives you a stronger core where, I mean, I guess OEL has been playing so well this season that it can give you that opportunity with Stetcher where, hey, Stetcher jumped in, he was playing well, it works. But I think that if you go McCabe, Stetcher, you get McCabe, solid defensively, Stetcher, guy who can move the puck well, pretty responsible, pretty good with his stick, plays physical, but like more mobile, and then Jake McCabe. And then if you go Tanev, OEL, I think it gives you the same kind of combination, whereas a little more mobile, a little bit more of a point getter, more solid defensively, more a defensive-minded approach from Chris Tanev, and then it kind of balances. And then I would play the third pairing like 2 minutes a night. If you're going to put Morgan Rielly and Philippe Myers on the ice, you're basically asking to get fucking caved. Seriously. Like, Philippe Myers, unfortunately, is not an NHL defenseman. He looked good in the opportunities he had last year. If he's your extra guy who comes in a pinch, in a hurry, in an emergency, sure, I can live with that. But being an everyday guy in your lineup just does not make sense to me. Again, Simone Benoit is sitting out right now. I'm not trying to say that he's been unbelievable this season, but I think he's been better than Myers. Obviously, Myers is the right-handed option in this one. But then you've also got Thrun. I liked what Thrun brought. I thought he looked good. I thought he was mobile. I don't think he got caved in his opportunities. Like, he never stood out to me as like, oh, Thrun's out there again. No wonder the team's in their own zone the whole time. I never got that feeling or that impression when Thrun was on the ice. Why can't Thrun get the chance? We know what you have in Philippe Myers. We know who he is. You're not entirely sure what Thrun could be. Still, younger guy, maybe potentially just an American Hockey League player. That's entirely possible. But like the games he's played, he looked fine. So what are we doing? Why are we panicking on this and saying, hey, you can't go? Philippe Myers has to play. And quite frankly, if you're playing Philippe Myers with Morgan Rielly, this is an atrocity of a pairing. Like the mindset from the coaching staff going into this should be like, we will play them offensive zone only, pass center ice, and they will not play against anybody other than the fourth line, and they will not play late game situations. They will not play defending a lead. They will not play down one, and maybe they won't exceed 9 minutes tonight. This is a bad pairing, and then compared to what you have in the other two, those ones are so good. I just can't see how this pairing finds its way on the ice. Like, you are cutting yourself out at the knees in terms of depth when you make a decision to put Morgan Rielly and Philippe Myers together. Those are your defensive pairings. I don't mind the combo of the four there, but Morgan Rielly and Philippe Myers screams to me, I'm going to talk about on the postgame tonight 6 goals that were scored with them on the ice, and it gives me nightmares. Your power play units under Steve Sullivan will remain the same as what we saw the other day. So, I mean, no change here. From Steve, who comes in, and Michelli, Tavares, Nylander, Morgan Rielly, Auston Matthews remain your first unit. Second unit is Matthew Knies, Nick Waugh, Nick Robertson, Max Domi, and OEL. I mean, I'm not going to make any comments about the power play. I will say one thing that is applicable to 2 situations here. The one thing that they've been doing, and it's applicable to 5-on-5 and the power play, they held the puck more on zone entries last game. I don't know if that was a Pittsburgh/opponent thing. I don't know if that was a change in mindset. I don't know if that was a Mark Savard thing. I don't know if that was a player rebellion thing. But there was a clear shift from chip and chase, dump and chase, or as we were calling it, dump and don't chase, because it seemed like they had zero interest in doing that. There seemed to be a lot more of a concentrated approach on zone entries and possession. I like that. I think you can do a hybrid. You can adapt situationally to when it is time to chip and chase, and you can adapt when it is time to carry the puck across the line. What I mean by the hybrid, and what we saw against Pittsburgh versus what we used to see in the past, there was one specific shift I watched where it was a 3-on-3. Zone entry was Matias Michelli. He comes in across the blue line over towards the right side. He cuts across high on the blue line. John Tavares drives down the wall. Nylander opens up on the other side. They don't score on the play, but they get the zone, and they got set up. That last week was Michelli gets to the blue line, dump it in, rim it around, hope Nylander gets it on the other side. A lot of times, he was kind of just saying, nope, I'm good. Not just him, that was basically everybody in the lineup were saying, nope, I'm good. They'll pass on it. But you were losing puck battles. You were losing races. You'd spend so much time in your own zone. You'd struggle in transition. You'd finally get up the ice and you'd be like, here's the puck back. You saw on Tuesday against Pittsburgh a more concerted effort to be like, let's keep the puck. And it seemed to work out in the long run. So if that is a decision they're going to make going forward, I'll be happy with that. I want to see how they play tonight against Ottawa, and if it's that more hybrid style, leaning a little bit more towards the idea of keeping puck possession across the line and trying to get set up rather than just firing it back down into the other end. But yeah, I noticed that the other day. I liked the decision. I thought it was I thought it worked out to their benefit, and I think it's something that will work out in the long run. There is a time to chip and chase. There is a time to possess the puck. It doesn't always have to be one or the other. You can find a middle ground on it. If Dakota Joshua's on the ice and he's wheeling, maybe you chip it into his corner and let him run through the guy. Scott Laughton's on the ice, maybe you chip it in his corner and let him run through the guy. Maybe Matthews chips it in and Bobby McMahon can run through the guy. But there's probably a lot more times where Matthews should carry it across the line, or Nylander should carry it across, or Michelli should carry it across and try to find Nylander or Tavares, rather than dumping it in and making them go work for it. Your goaltenders for tonight's game, Linus Ullmark is likely to go for Ottawa, unconfirmed right now. Joseph Woll, the likely starter for Toronto. I don't see a situation here why Dennis Hildeby would go in, so expecting a Woll and Ullmark matchup for tonight's game. Let's now get to our best bet. Best bet is a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use promo code NATION N-A-T-I-O-N. N-A-T-I-O-N. Use code NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you're someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connectsontario.ca. Okay, our best bets this season have really struggled. 6.6 units we have lost this year. It's been bad. We've given out a lot of bets to this point. 60 bets total through 37 games. We've fired away on a bunch of these, but tonight we only have one. We're keeping it simple. So we're going to jump on over to Bet365, see what we've got. Sens minus 125 on the road against the Leafs, plus 105 for Toronto here. Total of 6, minus 115 to the over, minus 105 to the under. But that's not where we're looking. If I were to go anyway, honestly, I'd probably go Leafs money line in this one at plus money. I would have some interest in potentially an over in this one as well. Let's go to the goal scorers tab. We're just going with one. We're going half unit on William Nylander, anytime goal at plus 190. This is a streaky goal scorer, streaky point getter. When he gets hot, he gets hot. He went through a slump of all slumps. I can't imagine he's been through a slump like that in his entire lifetime, let alone here in the NHL. And William Nylander looked good the other day against Pittsburgh. Gets a couple goals, had almost a hat trick there in that one. I think he continues that tonight against the Sens. I'm going Nylander anytime plus 190. I also think there's a decent chance they get deployed as the one line, not the two line. So Nylander anytime plus 190 half unit. That will profit you $95 for tonight's game. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe here to the channel, Leafs Nation 401 right here on YouTube. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like today's best bet? Do you like the lines? What would you do for the lines? All of that and more. Thanks to everybody who watched here today. I will be back following tonight's game for another edition of Leafs Nation After Dark to break down everything that happened in Leafs Sens Game 37 following the Christmas break. Thanks for watching. See you tonight. Hit that like button on the way out and make sure everybody keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.